Hello and welcome to Season 4 of the Making It in Asheville podcast. Before we dive in, here's a quick soundbite from this episode's guest, Nick Dodson.
From there, it's spread purely word of mouth. Everyone who has gotten involved has been blown away by, I guess, the honesty of what we're doing. They really, because the concept comes off as, I was describing this to you earlier, as like Motown, which was notoriously predatory, where they come in, you record, you create, and the company owns what you create. But with everyone I've worked with, they've been pretty stoked on that aspect. The only thing that they're not too stoked about is probably dealing with me on a regular basis. My mania. So, but besides that, what I've built, it's like, the company's its own thing now.
Yeah.
It's set aside. It was my spirit. It was my baby, and now it's moved on to. It means too much to too many different people for me to even have like more of too much of a personal aspect in it anymore, which is cool. It's really cool to see something like that kind of take off and mold people.
Welcome to Making It in Asheville Season 4. Oh my gosh, cannot believe it. This is a podcast where you get to hear the stories behind some of your favorite artists, entrepreneurs, businesses here in town. Each episode, we interview a different local Ashevillean. We work to uncover how they're making it in Asheville, what they're making it in Asheville, and we try to uncover actionable insights that you can then apply to your life and your work after each conversation.
And we are your hosts. That was Sarah. I am Tony. We are a husband and wife team that moved to Asheville in May of 2019. Since then, we've set out to answer a single question, and that question was, how does one make it in Asheville? We moved to Asheville with no real plan other than we were going to try real hard and ask entrepreneurs and other makers who we identify as making it in Asheville how and what they were doing to make it. And so we decided to record those conversations. Podcast was born, and that was almost 1 year ago. As of this recording, we're getting real close to the 1 year mark. This episode is a really exciting episode. It is with Nick Dodson. You heard a quick soundbite from the intro. And before we get into the episode, we want to make a really special, really big announcement.
Yeah, so one of our goals this season was to find a podcast sponsor, because most of the work that we do here is voluntary. We're not paid to do this. And so we wanted to find a sponsor that could provide as much value to our listeners as possible, someone that was local, and just be a really good fit. So we're really, really excited that we have a sponsor this season. Tony, tell us a little bit more about the sponsor.
Perfect. This season sponsor, lead sponsor, head sponsor, is no longer Making It in Asheville. It is Range.
Making it creative.
Oh yeah, Making It Creative. It is Range Urgent Care, and it is I think a perfect fit for this podcast for a lot of reasons. One, Range Urgent Care, if you're not familiar, is an Asheville-based urgent care clinic of sorts. The thing is, it flips the entire urgent care kind of model on its head. So when I would think urgent care, I would think DMV. This urgent care is more REI. So energetically, very different vibe-wise than any urgent care you might have experience with. And then the other thing that I love about the model is that it is 100% transparent in pricing. So either every single visit costs you $149, or you can subscribe to pay a monthly fee and get 4 visits a year and end up spending way less money than anything. And the cool thing is that you either don't need healthcare, you can pay out of pocket, or if you have a high premium healthcare plan like we do, you can choose to go to Range Urgent Care and know exactly what you're getting into when you walk in the door.
Yeah, I think this is really important for self-employed folks here in Asheville, or small businesses here in Asheville who maybe don't have, a company healthcare system, or are paying a lot out of pocket for, again, high premium not great deductibles. So this is a great option to know exactly what you're getting into and to know that you can be taken care of by some really, really great medical folks that work at Range Urgent Care. Some of the things that they offer, so services, they offer physicals, they offer x-rays, other special treatments, things like IVs, and even virtual visits. So if you're not feeling well and you just want to check in with a doctor, you can also do that too.
Which might be recommended at a time like now.
Yes.
We one of our past podcast guests, right before we sat down and talked with her, had just finished a Range Urgent Care virtual visit. Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the time this recording, the coronavirus pandemic is in effect right now. So if you are a little bit, worried about your health, this is a great time to consider that. If you're feeling sick, try them out. We definitely recommend it. And last but not least, the other cool thing is that they're a husband and wife team. And again, they're here in Asheville. So it's fantastic to be able to know that you can support a local business. And we're really excited about it because as a husband and wife team, we want to support that kind of work.
We're all in. And so future, I'd say advertisement spots are going to be a little different than that, which felt very like straight down the middle. Hopefully they will be all either funny or interesting, remarkable in some way outside of just how cool Range is as a business. What we will say is that we're working on coming up with some really interesting packages or special offers or some sort of bonus for our podcast audience, which is you, listener. And so if you are interested in knowing what that is, I would ask that you visit makingitinasheville.com/range. Or if you are going to visit Range between now and when you look at that page, just tell them we sent you.
Yeah.
Cool.
We'd appreciate it.
Hey, Sarah, that was our first ad.
Woo-hoo.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, hopefully that was fun for you and you learned about a new cool business in town. There's a lot more to tell. We will tell some other interesting facts on the backside of this episode. Now, let's get into a quick preamble about this week's episode and this week's guest, who is Nick Dodson. So Nick moved to Asheville about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was actually in April of last year. We met at Waterbird on a coffee date to learn more about each other. Nick's been to our Monday Maker mixers, and I mean, I don't know how to describe it. If you're watching on YouTube, you will see Nick. He's got this really awesome energy in person when he goes out, when he's wearing his out clothes. He's got this I call it Brad Pitt in Fight Club, really cool glasses and shades, and he wears floral a lot. And Nick is running and building a business called Broken Helm, which is a media production company that touches a lot of media, I'd say, verticals.
Yeah, things like podcast, band, music, exactly. Painting, even t-shirt creation. And the cool thing about it is that all of this is done by former addicts. Or those struggling with addiction in some way. So Nick himself, is an addict. He struggles with this, and he wanted to find a way to help artists to break into some sort of media production. So if they wanted to have their own podcast, he's got all the gear and the equipment to help them do that, and he can help them edit it. And the same goes for all the other verticals that we talked about, like music, painting, etc. And so he really wants to just break down those barriers and say, hey, you know what? You want to create something, but your biggest struggle is you don't have the resources to do it, the money to do it. Let me help you. Yeah. And so it's a really, really cool model. And as someone who has, addiction in my family, I really, really felt drawn to support this.
I absolutely love it. He says at one point that when what he wanted to do was allow there to be effectively no friction, to be someone who supports the idea and the execution of whatever the vision is. And they're doing an incredible job over at Broken Helm. And so this episode is, there's a lot of media conversation and gear and tech and production, but it also dives into concepts like meditation and goal setting. And we love it. And so if there is a single thing that we'll say before we dive in, is that we support Broken Helm. We love the idea of the business and the execution so far. And so without further ado, let's dive into episode
50. Whoa.
Of the Making It in Asheville podcast with the captain, El Capitan of Broken Helm, Nick Dodson. Enjoy. Cool. So, Nick, thank you for joining us on the Making It in Asheville podcast. This is not necessarily our first remote, but this is our first proper interview remote Making It in Asheville podcast. And we'd love to hear a little bit about you and where you are right now, because that room is a very cool room.
I didn't know. I thought you had done one or two of these. This is the first.
So yeah, we had a week of live interviews that we did all last week with a very specific like COVID-19 focus, and then we before that did a kind of special but very thematic episode on transitioning marketing strategies for like a digital world. But this is our first proper Making It in Asheville. Let's interview a person, hear about the business. That's going to be just a podcast kind of in the YouTube, but also this is the first of that.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm excited.
It's good to have you.
That means the bar isn't, well, I'm setting the bar. So
you're setting the bar.
You are setting the bar.
So for anyone in the future, you're welcome.
But so Nick, we are excited for this episode. We've sat down with you in that room and recorded a podcast for one of your programs, and we'd love you to just introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Nick Dodson. I am I guess my title is owner of Broken Helm LLC. It is a media dude, I don't know what to call it. Basically,
conglomerate.
Yeah.
You're a media company. You're a production company.
Yeah, production company. Yeah. We take ideas from people who are in recovery or not, basically anyone in the addict community, and help make those ideas come to be more than ideas, to come to life. And we deal with music production, video, podcast, audio, painting, down the line, like legit video production, like skits. Streaming is about to be a big thing for us, which was the original idea. And I think that's it. I don't know. I feel like there's something new every week. And then my wife is like, please God, stop. So
yeah. So we are so thankful that you reached out to us. I think it's an assumption, but I'll venture to say that most everyone is somehow or another connected to people in recovery or addicts in some way. And so that certainly struck a chord for us as part of your story. Would love to take just a moment or so and spend more time there, because that's a huge part of what's happening at Broken Helm.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what your experience is with it. I mean, it's one of those things where I think anybody can talk about it. It's like cancer. Everyone is, not everyone has it, but like everyone has had some type of run-in with it to some degree. My issue still is stretching. I mean, it's I have to deal with it every day, but started when I was young, and it's been going on for 15 years. And everyone here my wife and my kids are the only ones who are safe as of right now, that don't have it. But everyone else in the company or associated with the company is an addict. I don't think we have anyone that's just, I thought we did have somebody who was just, no, they're right. They're an addict too. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think this idea is so interesting, and I want to know, like, how did you know that was something you wanted to do, to start a production company created by addicts for addicts or whatever it is? Like, how did that come about? Where did you get the idea?
The tagline right now is created by us for the benefit of all mankind. That came about in a sober home. I was obsessed with Rooster Teeth, which is a production company that the guys who did Red versus Blue, they do machinima, which is they originally started with machinima, which is basically making TV shows inside of a video game.
Wow.
And I wanted a streaming channel like theirs, but specifically just for people in recovery, because it seemed like there's every flavor out there. I mean, furries and like sports. Like there's like specific drinking ones. Frats had one. Sororities had one. I mean, I don't know, every variation. There's people who cooked and played video games, or people who just cooked. And I wanted one that was specific to people who were in recovery and or in felons. And in the process of building that studio, I figured out I was basically 2 steps away from music, and I grew up recording with my friends, being around that community, and was pretty familiar with most of the equipment and have a basic understanding. And then from there, video production's only 2 steps away from there. Why leave the people who paint out type of thing, And from there, it's just kind of like snowballed into this what I have now. And the original idea was basically from rehab. I was with a lot of people who would say, "Hey, I want to do this, but I don't have this, like equipment or a place to do it, or somebody who believes in them." And so basically I'm saying, okay, here it is now, either do it or shut up.
Yeah. It seems so. I wasn't sure what to expect when we were headed to your studio to record on the podcast. Cause like you're based on the background in this shot, if you're listening to the podcast, it's like spray paint and like a bunch of colors. I thought you had found like a some sort of like a warehouse that you just designed a studio in. And so I'm like, okay, like this is going to be cool. It's going to be like a little bit like grungy. And it turns out it's a room in your basement, but it's like the most kitted out gear that like it seems, I'm confident that you could record, direct, damn near anything from your studio. And so you have effectively taken all of the tech and how to out of the equation. Is that fair to say?
Yes, my idea was all of the headachy stuff, the in-between things that give a lot of people anxiety. Like I want to put this on the screen, but all the, how do I do that? Where do I go? What equipment do I use? How do I get that sound? How do I get that look, lighting, the stuff that a lot of people appreciate. I grew up watching movies, obsessed with that stuff. And so it's more of it's like mutual benefit, whatever that sciencey smart relationship name is called. I can't remember.
Symbiotic relationship or something. Yeah.
It's a win-win.
And so I'm pretty stoked on being able to do that and help people like move along. And it's funny because I get really excited about really mundane things, and they're like, so when do we get to the part where I get to make stuff cool? Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's what we're doing now. They're like, wow, this is really boring.
Yeah.
I'm like, just give me a second.
When we were over your space, I think we geeked out on something cool, like how the microphone is wired, and so you use this camera and this lens, and half the room that day just was completely zoned out, and I was geeking out on the equipment. I'm a huge gearhead. That doesn't mean that everyone else is.
Nope.
But there's something to be said, and one of the things that we always try and communicate with like clients of ours, friends of ours who have like questions or like, how do I start? My answer is always with whatever is the easiest thing that you could actually do right now. And if it just so happens to have high production value, which everything that you're touching seems to have, that's even better. That's just a win. That's a benefit.
That absolutely. I learned how to do what I'm doing right now with like really basic stuff, you know, I learned on pretty much a phone, webcam, uh, a Nikon that was mainly it was the Nikons. The original stuff was on Nikons that were specifically for photography. And I was like, so can I use these for videography? And the guys at the photography shop were like, please don't, because this is what they're meant for. I'm like, that wasn't my question. And so these cameras were recorded for like 7 minutes at a time. I would have to reset the timer. The autofocus was I had to put everything in manual, which forced me to learn a camera from the ground up. And so now I'm able to see, like, I appreciate like the nicer stuff that I have now, like why, or I don't know why it is just technically nicer besides the price tag, you know, because before I would have been like, yeah, let's get $1 million. I want to get an RE, you know, it's like, which is basically the price of a car. But I see no point in having one you know, unless I'm shooting the next Tarantino film. And I think a lot of people get lost in that, where the equipment that they have doesn't necessarily equate to the same value. Like, you can get a lot out of seriously a webcam on a computer, and the microphone in a computer if you're savvy enough, or I mean, if you're able to rig it up enough. The stuff right now that I have is either one out of convenience, or some mainly is actually lighting. Is I can shoot in super low light in crappy situations and not have to worry about it. It's convenience. I don't have to rig up a bunch of lighting. That's it. You know, it's but yeah, it is pretty cool to have sometimes.
So what are some of the shows or the, I guess, media that you are helping to produce right now? Like, give us a little bit of a sense, or an audience, a little bit of a sense of what's going on.
So we were in the middle of about 5 different projects right before Corona hit pretty hard. And 4 of them got put on hold indefinitely, which is, by the definition of what that meaning is not usually, that means gone. And when people hear that, but it literally is just paused. But for right now, we have a podcast / show that is going to be going on location, from a Addicts perspective, talking to other businesses that are oriented with recovery, and they have like an individual take on that I can't really talk about. It's a creative thing. Not getting into your territory, don't worry.
And you're welcome to.
We have I mean, honestly, my buddy right now, who's producing a decent amount of music and artwork, we're going to be pushing that out from the site pretty soon. Don't know exactly what format or how I'm going to promote that, but that'll be like our first full scale music project. We have another music project with potentially our good friend Judah, and we have the No Clue show, which is still running full fledged, which you guys came on, and is going to be coming out with this. And after that comes out, we are full steam ahead. And that was the whole thing is once that first episode comes out, I told the boys we're on a schedule then. And as you know, once the season starts, and our season is going to start in the middle of this, so hopefully, otherwise we might be doing this. But we have 5 episodes in the bank, so
cool.
Potentially a month and a half, 2 months of content.
Yeah. And then there's always an opportunity to transition to remote versions of the show. I mean, I think your segments would lend themselves to using your like a live kind of production, throw stuff on the screen, have some sort of crazy overlay. I could see you getting really kind of fancy in a produced remote show.
When I start to get some, I've been on Broken Helm's Facebook, I've been testing out some camera stuff by streaming, and we are going to, down the line, hopefully in the next week, have some semblance of like a online interactive community. I'm thinking either Jackbox or probably just Jackbox right now with Zoom amongst the if you're familiar with Jackbox. Jackbox is
Yeah, we
Is it
played
the
it the
video game?
first.
But
It's
Yeah.
like a we played it last week.
yeah, how are
Yeah.
you going to use Jackbox on Facebook? I'd love to know.
That's why I've been testing a bunch of stuff. I'm going to be using Jackbox with Zoom with a sync delay in OBS to stream onto Facebook, but to participate in through Zoom, not through Facebook.
Got
But
it.
you'll see it on Facebook. You can comment on Facebook. We'll see your comments, but there'll be like, Facebook delay
Yeah.
time, which is sometimes it's 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But
Wow,
with
that's
Zoom,
so
Zoom
cool.
is pretty fast.
Yeah.
And so we'll be able to do that and then film the whole thing, have scenes set up so you can, if the person who's answering or someone's making a funny face, I'll have either me or somebody else changing the shots, and so hopefully it'll be kind of cool.
Oh dang, I'm so into
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah. Let us know how that goes.
We try to rig up a kind of janky play Jackbox with some friends during dinner the other maybe last week, and I'd be very interested in seeing what like a larger scale community watch a game could look like.
There is a Twitch does have some integrated aspects into it, but it's kind of, they started and stopped like a bunch of different times, and so we're curious to see if that works out or if I just have to build it from the ground up on my own, which probably is going to happen. Which is fine. That's cool. Great.
Yeah. So backing up just a little bit, because I want to go back to Broken Helm, which is, you got this idea for this project and this business, and then what did you do to start to take, to form an LLC and to start a website? Like, what were the first steps that you took? And also give us a timestamp. Like, when was this happening that you started the company?
I mean, it depends on what your definition of starting was. I mean, technically, the idea in the name and what it was going to be spiritually, which it still is, started about 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. I've been saving and funding since then. I trade. I don't want this to seem like fantasy world. I had something else provide for this. Mm-hmm. And for about 3 years, I've been kind of more conceptualizing it, and then the last, I would say, this summer, so about a year, is when it really actually started to take like a tangible form, where this room went from my computer that I played Borderlands on every once in a while turned into, okay, this is where a company is being built, and that was about a year ago.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Would love to know, as a concept, like if someone's interested in, we'll do how to connect with you as like a follow on Instagram thing. But like if someone's interested in this project, like how have people found out about you? How has it grown? And I know that we're in a weird place now with coronavirus and projects on hold. But like how have people heard about this and signed up to participate or create?
I started out just word of mouth. Purely word of mouth. People, I went to a place where people who have my affliction meet. I'm not supposed to say what it is. Mm-hmm. It's a silly rule, but it's a rule. And somebody told somebody else who told somebody else, and I got connected with a couple of really awesome people. I got connected with some people who thought this is what they wanted to do. It was not. And from there, it's spread purely word of mouth. It's been people who, I guess, are everyone who has gotten involved has been blown away by, I guess, the honesty of what we're doing. They really, because the concept comes off as, I was describing this to you earlier, as like Motown, which was notoriously predatory, where they come in, you record, you create, and the company owns what you create. But with everyone I've worked with, they've been pretty stoked on that aspect. The only thing that are not too stoked about is probably dealing with me on a regular basis. my mania. So, but besides that, what I've built, it's like, the company is its own thing now.
Yeah.
It's set aside. It was my spirit. It was my baby, and now it's moved on to. It means too much to too many different people for me to even have like more of a too much of a personal aspect in it anymore, which is cool. It's really cool to see something like that kind of take off and mold people.
That's amazing. And to attempt to just be even more explicit, what I heard was that your business is helping people build their own products or art, let's say, whatever version of it as it is, and not taking massive stakes in ownership in those projects.
No. So I mean, well, this is where wording gets kind of funny. So I own everything, but what happens is we sign a contract that breaks down the residuals or the earnings of whatever they're creating, and it comes out to be the same contract anyone would sign for a record deal. Actually, a very good contract they would sign for a record deal or video, or if they were to get onto like I don't know, not a talent agency, but like, a production company where they were set talent. The numbers are more industry standard plus a little bit more, and then we also donate as well.
Amazing.
That's required in all contracts, that at least 5%, well, at least 1%, upwards to 5% of every contract that is signed has something gets donated. As of right now, it's all Amy Winehouse, her foundation, but it's, if somebody else has something different, they can say what it is. I just like Amy Winehouse because they have a really good rating as when it comes to percentage of money that is given to them goes towards the cause.
Good to know.
Some companies is not great.
Have higher operating costs or
higher salaries.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to get political, but
and so just to, I guess, step even further back, right? So you mentioned you have, I guess, a past that has funded this in some way. I'd love to hear, you talked about being a chef or working in restaurants for a while. Love to hear like what was going on before you created Broken Helm.
I was a dishwasher, cook, chef. That was what my career looked like. That was the timeline right there. For 15 years.
Yeah.
From basically 14 and something, 15 until I was 30 years old, pretty much. And that's all I knew. My family taught me stocks early on. And so something that I always just was in the back of my mind. I never thought it would be something I would fully focus on, and ended up falling back onto that down the line. And that's what was able to birth this. But no, I was a cook for basically 15 years, in and out of restaurants, doing restaurant stuff, restaurant things. My two sordid pasts in the kitchen and as an addict are directly related.
Yeah, there's a seemingly incredibly high correlation between those two, if not causation. We were just at a AIR event, Asheville Independent Restaurants, that a large part of the focus was on like wellness in the kitchen and creating a sustainable community. So that's hard, and that makes sense.
I grew up I remember my mentor, still huge. He's done his own thing, but still to this day makes a huge impact in my life on how I approach stuff. Sometimes Mark Taylor, he gave me Kitchen Confidential and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas when I was 15, and
so impressionable. Yeah,
ruined my life.
Kitchen Confidential,
yeah. And for people who aren't familiar, it's basically drugs and cooking, and it romanticizes it, and it's it was a beautiful thing for a little bit, I guess. Kinda. It was actually pretty bad pretty fast, but that's pretty common. I don't know about causation, but I know that it's very rare to find a kitchen that is not like that. Has nothing to do with fine dining or lower end. Actually, I guess the biggest misconception would be like fine dining would be better. Fine dining is way worse, like a million times worse.
The stress is that much higher.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's that much higher, but it's just you know, and when I say lower end, I'm talking about a category, not a description of the cooking. So like if you have like fast food, you're doing the same thing you're doing in fine dining. Someone's giving you a set of directions and you're doing it. That's it. But in a lot of times in fast food, these guys are so busy and worked so hard to the bone, they don't have time to go nuts. And fine dining, we're still working really hard, but I think we have a little bit more time to do things we're not supposed to, or things no one said we're not supposed to, but do things that make our job sometimes more difficult in the long run.
Yeah. And were you working as a chef here in Asheville, or did you live somewhere else before?
The last time I was a chef was in Bend, Oregon, and I was working at a retirement home. I had given up fine dining. I thought that's what would have helped me out. And it turns out it didn't. I had built too much of, I guess like what was called euphoric recall in the industry. And I had to go back to summer camp, also known as rehab, and learned there that cooking was something that I could not do anymore. I could do it at home, but in the industry at that time and still now, it's not something I can do anymore.
Yeah. My sister is a struggling addict, or former addict, or however you want to say it. But one of the things that she always says is like there are certain places and certain atmospheres that are really triggering for her, and so it's not necessarily the cooking, for example, that is the thing. It's like being in that atmosphere that can be the thing.
It was not me cooking. I love cooking. I can do cooking, and I can separate myself. I'm not making a roux and thinking about doing blow. It's somebody, yelling down the line, "Hey, I need this, this, and that," and then walking into the walk-in to feel that breath of cool air, and then what I would usually do after that. That built up over time.
Yeah.
And I get that. My place would be, if I had a place, it'd probably be the Tenderloin in San Francisco. I know I could not safely navigate that place at this time. Someday, but as of right now, no.
Well, you are, I'm sure, not alone in the feeling of the Tenderloin being triggering. That's my gut, having spent a very little amount of time in San Francisco. But thank you for sharing that. I think we don't know who we're touching in the audience, but I think that your vulnerability has always been, at least to us, or like coffee meetings and spending time with you, has been I think, I don't know, admirable. But I love that about you, how raw and honest you've been from the very moment that we met, in email, in person here now. And like that's compelling to me. Like we're on team Broken Helm, and we want to support, and we'll continue to support however we can.
Beautiful.
I'm wondering if we could, like, to think about 2020 for Broken Helm, for your business, knowing that we're clearly in a weird place right now. Like, what are some of your big goals operationally, or targets that you might have for the year?
What we were working on right before this hit was basically a established element in every category. And what I mean by that was a podcast that had at least 10 episodes and had some projection of longevity. A musician, we wanted multiple musicians that had been in the studio, out of the studio. There was another part of the music was doing live sessions, where basically bands would come in and broadcast live, use the nice video equipment, and do like live music videos type of thing. It was a suggestion actually from a guy who I met outside of a Whole Foods who was playing music. It turns out he was an addict, which it was really funny. I put myself in these situations where I go, "Hey, did you used to do drugs?" Yeah. Did you have a problem? Yeah. I'm not great at this stuff. I have my other guys. It's like JP is fantastic at this. I'm not. I come off as a predator. But
Oh no.
he was like, yeah, I do, and I have all this studio experience, and I wanted that's his project. It still is, and I wanted that going, and at least two or three, one studio artist here, and two or three, and I actually already have the artist stuff of prints and T-shirts to come out, and established stream schedule on the Broken Helm Twitch channel that was at least occupying 12 hours of every day. And once we had reached that point, to roll out a full Facebook local guerrilla ad campaign. So when people came, the site was populated, the Instagrams were populated, the Facebook was populated, Twitch was, vice versa, or not vice versa, but et cetera, et cetera. And we were in the middle of building that. We had just started to establish with no clue. We were halfway there with no clue. Sessions was about to come out. Music is about to come out. Art was about to come out. And it was just, and now we're just kind of waiting. And it's nothing I can do at this point. I have to, I was talking to you about this yesterday, is the work that I have to do right now really is dependent on human interaction and physical, like people kind of being in here. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I guess this is time where we, the best companies are able to adapt versus succumb. Yeah. And so this is us kind of at that precipice. So hopefully we adapt.
Yeah. I love how concrete your goals are, and there are things that you can control, right? It's not like, oh, I want to have 50 million Facebook followers. It's things that are within your control. And I love how specific they are. How did you go about thinking about those goals? What kind of process do you use?
The process I use is being delusional for 15 years of my life, and then finally not. And so it makes goal writing a lot easier versus it's more or less just I see what I absolutely can do. Where before it would have been, shoot for the stars, which, don't get me wrong, fantastic way to go about things. Some people succeed wildly. I do not have that luxury anymore. I have to know that when I say, hey, I'm going to work out every day, that's a lie. So I'm going to all right, so I'm going to try and do the best I can at this moment in time. If I start to eat a pack of cookies a day, it's okay. It's like, just try not to. And very real about what I just said. That came from a real life thing that's happening. And that goes with everything. It's from me learning how to live again. Is being able to set goals like that. That's it. I mean, that's the answer to that question, I think. Yes.
No. Yeah, I love that. I think it's like, for everyone, it's so easy to be so hard on ourselves to say, oh, we need to do this by X, and if we don't, then we feel like failures. And I think it's super important, like you said, to dream big and to have those visionary goals, but also to be realistic and manage your own expectations in a way that you can achieve those things. So,
meditation. Oh my God, meditation. I meditate and I'm able to formulate all those things. Yeah, there it is. And I haven't in a while, so my brain's in shambles. But when I meditate, which is a lot of times is like a quick version is in the shower, is I can go through and say, hey, this is what I can do today. And it turns out when I notice that when I say that to myself, there's actually a lot of crap I can do in a day, and then it starts to get overwhelming. I'm like, all right, let's take it easy. Let's maybe play some Far Cry instead, which is what I'm doing right now. Well,
do you use a particular kind of meditation, or is it just like a thinking process?
I started off with guided. Oh wow, that thing. Yeah, it needs to be reset again. Awesome. Forgot about it. That's fine. Thank you for reminding me.
So for those of
It's
you listening to the podcast, if this stays in, Nick has a pretty sweet video setup going on. And so we are just turning on one of the cameras.
yeah.
Shout out to our YouTube channel. If you haven't already checked it out, please do.
Oops.
It's all good.
Impromptu.
And 1, 2, 3. See. Okay.
So yeah, meditation.
I started off with guided meditations, like 5-minute guided. That went up to like 15-minute guided. I graduated from that to I moved on from that to music for 15 to 20, and then if I'm really feeling ambitious, I'll do like a 20-minute nothing, like no, like which I do. A Pashana, I think is what it's called, is where you have a saying that you have. It's like a list of, not a list, but it's like a chant that's like 15 lines long, and your goal is to get through the entire thing without thinking of anything else besides that. And the second you think of something else, you have to start back at the beginning. So
brutal.
yeah.
Can't just let it go.
I mean, you
are letting it go by starting over.
Yeah.
You let it go.
And I mean, that's at starting off. That was brutal. It would take me all of 30 minutes, and now I get like that. I can start off like that.
Yeah.
If I decide to do that, I haven't done it in a minute. But for the most part, I do guided 15 minutes.
Cool. Do you use an app or like a YouTube video or something?
I use YouTube. The Honest Guys have a bunch of ones that I use, and then honestly, I type in meditation and kind of what I'm feeling, like guidance, mindfulness, Lord of the Rings, fantasy. You know, yeah. Sometimes one of my favorites is probably the Native American tribal drums. I can't remember what the name of the rhythm is.
Please send us a link to that one. You have my full attention. I want that meditation.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm wondering, so this is a slight departure. So we set goals. I'm wondering what would support look like for you in 2020? Is there a need for just fans, followers, and likes and subscribes? Is there a need for funding? Like what does support look like?
That is a multi-level question. So the first form of Broken Helm would be fully self-supporting LLC, profiting on its own material. So for that would be absolutely followers, purchasers, and even bigger right now would be contributors, creators is what we call them here. Is anyone who wants to create. Creators is probably our biggest need, no matter what. If that does not pan out, the second iteration is a what is it called? Nonprofit entity, which would help fund the company to do its own thing, and if not, go full bloody nonprofit, basically purely based on grants and stuff. But that requires me to relinquish control. I don't have as much freedom. I can't be as loosey-goosey like I am. So there are some caveats. Also, there's people I've been suggested for B Corp. But answer your question is followers, of course, publicity, of course, and most importantly, creators, people who want to create and to do. That's what I need more of anything. I can't do anything else until I have people who are in need of equipment, assistance, and guidance, so I can help them create and do stuff.
Yeah. How do you go about finding these people besides, I mean, you said the guy outside of Whole Foods that was playing music, but have you thought about strategies to find contributors and creators?
So I wanted to have, and that's a part of my answer to that is what I was saying earlier, was having that established footprint already, and then have a part of the ad campaign that we were going to like kind of go full elbow deep into would more than half of that would be geared towards creators. So cool. And even remotely, I know that I have a ton of people in Arizona, Oregon, and California that are interested, but there's not too much form right now unless they were here in place. Yeah. So we're going to focus on Asheville and the surrounding area. down the line.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's a fair ask. My thought on my thought is that it seems like there's going to be a lot of opportunities for you with a call it team of creators to create some sort of an echo chamber that self-populates and has some virality at some point, at some breaking point, and then also to monetize, whether it's loosely through advertising, ad placements, or products. My gut says that when this thing starts to, walk on its own, right, like get its own footing, that products are going to be a really interesting angle for you.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. T-shirts. Yeah.
For sure.
Hats. Yeah. Hats. Yeah.
Stickers.
Yeah. Stickers. Yeah. It's funny. Like I was running through, how this was going to work audio wise, and I just got lost. But we already have a relationship with Asheville screen printing.
Cool.
And they've been awesome. So I don't know if you guys have talked to them, or I think we talked about this. But they're great. And we'll have actual product out, like merch. And then ideally, stuff to put sponsorship on.
Yeah.
Ultimately, which is where people should be earning down the line.
Yeah. We're so it's funny because we're also thinking a lot about sponsorship right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of one of our big goals for this year. Wondering like, what are your thoughts on sponsorship, and how are you thinking about what that's going to look like for you in the future? I think that's a really nebulous but interesting topic for a lot of podcasters out there.
So for the podcast, all right. I'm brutal when it comes to that. If somebody wants to sponsor a podcast and give us funding to help these guys support themselves, I'm down for whatever they want. I know that some people aren't cool with that, but I think it's hilarious to have rude interruptions in in the middle.
Yeah. Ad monsters, or what do you call it?
Yeah, the ad demon, which is usually
demon.
me.
Yeah.
And so I have I love that idea of just totally breaking into it. I mean, not to the point where it's comical, but not to the point where it's disrespectful to the company that's sponsoring.
Right. Yeah.
And there is a little bit of a line there, but not too. I don't think it's that thin. You can navigate that pretty well.
And the alternative to me is like a hyper vanilla, seems like it was written by the company, seems like a lawyer reviewed it, version of an ad that someone hits 15 minutes or 15-second fast forward.
Yeah.
Like, so when Sarah and I are thinking about like what ads are going to be like, all my mind goes into is like, what's going to be something that someone won't skip past? What won't they skip past?
And it's probably going to sound like because we're really bad at we're not really bad, but we're not very great at doing our intros and outros and like trying to even insert like our own ad for our own company, it's just not great. So we're like, well, we'll just do really bad ads, again, not disrespectful to the company, but like just done.
Do you like Acme?
Yeah. I see. You sound like guys that are great at it, but like your voice timbre sounds perfect, as in like sounds like that perfect, like a safe company that wants a safe read. They'd be like, hi, would you enjoy, well, I know this is killing you just hearing me say this, but no, I love the idea of the organic ad read, it's like struggling through it. And I think like just off the top of my head, what would be great for you guys would be you, who are normally very poised and like well spoken, and like, and I say well spoken, I mean like what you have beautiful flow to be like like, and struggling through it would be absolutely beautiful. I would listen to that. Like I would specifically, I would fast forward to the ad, be like, I want to hear these two murder this for a minute.
They're going to use hard words, and Tony needs to try and read. And I never read in school. I would always hide.
I never read in school.
Anyone want to read this out loud? I would dive under the table to not get picked. Oh my God. I never got hooked on phonics.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love thinking about that kind of stuff. And one of the things that we really enjoyed from being on the No Clue show, and just being in your studio was just seeing how creative you guys are and how like you plan for your episodes, but they don't seem super planned. Like they're non-traditional.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, how do you think about each of those episodes? What's your creative process look like for planning what you're going to say?
So if you're familiar with Curb Your Enthusiasm,
yeah,
and if you know about how Larry David goes about writing, it's similar to how we do it. We basically have what is called a skeleton. It's bullet points for the episode, and it's broken down into segments, and we come up with the segments literally the night before. And we don't want anything. We think about it all week. It's in our mind. We have a group chat where we throw ideas. We don't shoot them down. We stoke them off if we're excited. We let them tangent as they go, and then the night before we go through like, all right, so what are our segments? And it really comes down to who is confident to put it forward, and that confidence shows us what goes in. Because people are like, we could. We're like, all right, that's not it. It's not it. But someone says, hey, I want to have canned bread because I found some, and we're gonna make this guy eat some canned bread. We're like, okay, that sounds beautiful. Or
canned bread.
We didn't. Yeah. No one in this in our episode ate canned bread.
No. But we had another person eat canned bread. We did taser trivia for mine. Which,
no.
I've had I have two insane. Well, I guess three irrational fears. It's electricity, leeches, and heights. And basically, we rigged trivia. Because there was no way I wasn't going to get tased, and this was my idea too. That's the worst part, as it was my bloody idea to do this. Yeah. And they're like, you're kind of smart, Nick. You might get these answers right, and I'm like, well, then you got to ask an opinion.
Yeah,
and the opinion's going to be wrong.
Exactly. That's so
and
good.
I can't remember what the opinion was.
Yeah, it's who was the first American president? Okay, yeah. It's like what is the 25th letter of the alphabet?
Yeah.
Was my 8th grade teacher good?
Yeah. No, it was. Well, who's your favorite director? And I think I said Coen Brothers, which I don't think it is, but either way, I got hit pretty bad.
Oh goodness.
Give me anxiety right now, actually.
Oh man. So our segment was free from tasers and canned bread, but it was fun. And one of the things that it was only. I feel like it was 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 Thursdays ago. So it was like 3 weeks from when we recorded this.
Yeah,
recording this, and it has left us thinking about like what do we steal in our podcast. We didn't return the favor and have any segments for you today, but it's definitely something that we're thinking about, like because that hard transition into a bit was, we found, like really fun and interesting and kept the conversation moving fast. And our model is allow the conversation to move however it moves right now. And we have a loose, we call it lily pads, not unlike Larry David. We don't have as many segments, but the sections are like, where are you now? What was your past? What's happening next? And then talk about community. And to that, perhaps we transition to a conversation about community.
The original, our first podcast with JP, which is out there. What was the name of it? Oh, Just for Today. It was the traditionals. It was the exact opposite of that. Mm-hmm. It was JP's hell, to be honest. And it was still good. JP still enjoyed doing it, but it was like hey, dream wise, what would you do? And he was like, well, the exact opposite of that. It was the no set subjects, not really set questions, just kind of let's feel how it goes for an hour to 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then he said, and this, when the one guy left and he's like, this is my show now. And I'm like, do you even want to do the same thing? He's like, absolutely not. I don't even want it to be called the same. I don't want to be associated with it whatsoever, except for the fact that I'm in it and it's on the internet now.
Cool.
He said, I want to be 45 minutes, segments, scripted, non-scripted, parts, and you know, quick, fast,
Yeah.
heavily structured, and which is actually like the opposite of a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
And it worked.
And it does.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'll say is that one of the original podcasts that blew up podcasting as a medium for like for a bunch of different reasons was this podcast that still I think exists called Entrepreneur on Fire. And the guy, John Lee Dumas, like this was probably almost 10 years ago at this point. It was 6 years ago, 2014, 2012. And he went at the time, like people were putting out podcasts monthly, maybe weekly. Like it was almost unheard of to have a weekly podcast. And he did a interview podcast where he interviewed and published a podcast every single day. And that was bananas. No one had even thought to do that yet. And so he batched all of his episodes. He recorded 7 or 10 in a day. They had like 6 to 10 or whatever it was, 10, 12 questions. He didn't even like this is past where you guys went, but like he didn't even listen to the responses so much. You know what I mean? Like he was just like,
He's like, ready, go.
You know, like tell us about a time. Tell us about a time when you had a really hard day in work and how did you overcame it? And people would say something. He's like, now tell me about a time when you had a really like and so he had this structure. But the cool thing was that you knew exactly what you were going to get when you listened to Entrepreneur on Fire. And if you liked it, you liked it. And if you were going to be a guest on Entrepreneur on Fire, you knew exactly what you were going into. And if you were into that, you're into it. And his audience just exploded because it was bite-sized, it was digestible. And then like years later, you have Joe Rogan doing 3-hour, 4-hour episodes a day, also putting content out at this insane level and with insane volume, but it's just fundamentally different. But I'm into your concept of segments, punchy, keep it fast, and I think that your audience will be too.
Yeah, it wasn't this is it. I don't know. It wasn't born out of a what's the bad R word for? Doesn't matter. Anyways, it wasn't born out of resentment. It was more or less just like, hey, why not? That's it. And that hey, why not went from, hey, let's do 45 minutes to, hey, let's make segments. Like, hey, let's make it more structured. Hey, let's script in some ridiculous stuff. And it wasn't, wow, this is what's wrong with podcasts.
Yeah.
It was, because a lot of, because I definitely see it that way though, because it really is the exact opposite of a lot of that structure. But I think it's JP has I don't know, his mind is not stuck, but centered in a lot of like older media, and it's so beautiful to see how it works. Like I love the fact that he gets these ideas that are born from like late 80s, early 90s stuff, that it's like it's so ingrained and so pure and just like a little bit socially inappropriate, like and it borders on thank you, perfect, on I mean I don't know, it's what talking to him is it's like childlike, but like in the best way.
We completely agree. He's a sweetie. We're big fans. We're big fans.
Everyone's fans of JP, and that's why I usually have him with me to translate how I like what I'm trying to say, and also to be the face, because like they're like, dude, that guy's scary looking. He has Jeffrey Dahmer glasses. JP's bubbly with red pink hair. Like. So
this is the first time I've seen you without what I would have called the Brad Pitt Fight Club vibe. Normally, I see you very floral, like doing the thing.
Yeah, no, this is me in the studio. I thought about that. That's my going out attire. This is what I look like if you work with me. No sleeves, Dahmer glasses. Probably need deodorant.
People were going behind the scenes, truly.
Yeah. Taylor's shaking his head. Yes.
Oh, God. One of the things
you didn't start it, by the way.
So we're gonna this is another ad spot for our YouTube channel. You will get to see the amazing video that Nick is shooting in his studio. We have two cameras being simultaneously recorded from the Broken Helm studios in Asheville, North Carolina. The other thing that we might be able to get if we ask nicely is for some pretty neat B-roll of the space. Up to you, Nick, but we would love to potentially show our YouTube channel what's going on inside of your studio, because it is pretty neat. And if you are at all geary, you'll geek out.
Yeah, I would definitely do that.
Cool.
I got some plans for it.
Cool.
I can see him like scheming already. Yeah. I love it. So let's transition a little bit into what we call the community aspect of the podcast. Just talking a little bit about Asheville and what impact perhaps it's had on you. How long have you lived in Asheville?
A year now. A year and a year. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Dead on a year.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So you're like the same amount of time, just about as we are. We're coming up on our 1 year anniversary in May. Yeah. Wow. What brought you to Asheville?
Family and the fact that we had another kid. So family. Yeah. We had family here that have been here for a while, and Emmy came into the world, and we were like, wow, the first one was pretty not easy to take care of. We would like people to lean on. And so we moved here, and Asheville was considered to be like the East Coast version of Bend, Oregon, which I can say is, I don't know. Asheville's Asheville. Asheville's its own thing. So, but yeah, we are huge fans. I don't think we could live anywhere else on the East Coast besides, like, I don't know, one of the Keys alone. You know,
like Florida Keys.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I mean, I don't know anything about Bend, Oregon, but it sounds nice if you're saying that Asheville is it of the East. I'm wondering when you moved here, like where. So you're clearly building a community through your business, Broken Helm. But what have you come to love the most? What places do you find yourself going to when you were able to go to places? What did Asheville look like for you for the last year?
Between the kids and building this, I barely go outside of the basement. Like I might as well, like my company might as well be like in Antarctica. Like it doesn't really like my house, but we've hiking has been pretty huge. The downtown scene food wise has been pretty spot on, and recovery wise, Asheville is pretty awesome. Like it's pretty huge. Yeah. There's lots of 12-step stuff, and we have like 3 rehabs.
There's one down the street from us, I think.
Yeah, there's like 3 rehabs. Which, if anyone knows, like if there is a rehab in your town, that's huge because usually there isn't. Usually a lot of people have to drive to go to IOP or to be able to go into a facility that's local. Is I think it's a privilege for some people that people overlook a lot. But yeah, Asheville's pretty chill. That was the question you asked me,
right? Yeah, more or less. Is Asheville chill? And you said yes.
Okay. My brain stops working after like 10 seconds. So I have to go back onto what I was saying 10 seconds ago. And then hopefully it's still moving along properly.
We call that the Dory effect. You get so far, we're like,
pretty much.
Hi, I'm Dory. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Cool. So, I mean, you've been head down, you go hiking, you have children and a recovery community.
Wow.
I'm wondering,
my life summed up.
Yeah. Is there anyone in the community, any like places in the community that you want to give like a little shout out to, creators, collaborators, something like that?
They all work with me. I I would say people that I think that were like awesome to work with was Asheville Screen Printing.
Mm-hmm.
They were just like super awesome, like open about. I mean, they dealt with me where I came in and I was like sort of like telling them how to do their job, and they're like, "Listen, settle down, buckaroo. Like, this is our show." And then it was cool. They were confident to be like that, and we collaborated pretty well. Community, like my community, I'm not like supposed to promote it, so
Heard.
man, those are the only guys I've like interacted with business wise. You guys is and Tupelo Honey's pretty chill, and so is Rhubarb. Like I like Rhubarb a lot. Asheville shout out wise, it's like I went there and it was like, I don't know, breath of fresh air. Like I was like working for months straight and I got to enjoy someone else's vision, which was nice. So I could say it's definitely a shout out to Rhubarb.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
We love the whole Rhubarb, Benny trifecta that John Fleer has built. It's definitely something really special. Question that we always ask, and this is kind of a pivot again, but if we had a magic wand or someone in our audience had a magic wand, what one thing would you ask for help with?
I would say branding, like implementing concise branding, like an all-encompassing type of thing, where knowing what exactly we have, how to translate that, and how to make sure that comes across most viable for someone to consume, but without it getting watered down, changed, manipulated to the point where the artist wants to walk away from it. But that has to happen to some degree. I would love to say that directors, writers, and creators have the best vision for their art, but a lot of times that isn't the most easily consumable item. It's like there's a reason why Lars von Trier is one of my favorite directors, but he's not very successful. And I think that has a lot to do with proper branding, and I am not good at it, and I would love more help with that.
Cool. Well, you are in good hands. I think our community will likely reach out. We will connect you with a bunch of people who could, maybe even us, who's to say, who could be of use. So thank you for your answer to that question. Sarah, where do you think? Any other last minute questions before we find out where you live on the internet?
I don't think so.
Cool.
That was great.
Mr. Dodson, the captain at the Broken Helm.
El Capitan.
El Capitan. Can you please remind us and tell our audience where to find you on the World Wide Web?
Oh, Facebook. We are Broken Helm XXX. Sorry, Broken Helm was taken, so apparently we're porn. At Twitter, we are at Broken Helm, Broken_Helm, Broken Helm. Instagram, we are at Broken_Helm. Email, you can email me at, I'll just do the one, which is easy, Nick D as in Dodson at brokenhelm.com. And is that everything?
Sounds good to us. We'll link to anything else that you want to add in the show notes page on this episode.
Yeah, that's it, I think.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, YouTube. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
So the Broken Helm YouTube channel, we subscribe and engage with your posts, and we thank you for having us into your unbelievable studio just a couple weeks ago, and we were glad to have you digitally in our home today. And thank you for the time very much.
Absolutely.
And that was episode 50 of the Making It a Natural podcast with Nick Dodson of Broken Helm. And this season is going to be very different than any of the past seasons. We are all in now on video and virtual, and we didn't say that at the beginning of the episode, but if you are listening to the podcast, thank you. Just know that we also have a YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you. The two things that we will ask, no matter where you are that you do, is please let us know if you enjoy the podcast. The way that you would do that, if you're a podcast listener, is going to Apple Podcasts. We have links to that in the description of every episode. A 5-star review, a quick comment means the world. It helps these episodes be seen by others who are searching for things to listen to. If you're on YouTube, a like, a subscribe helps with things like the algorithm. All that to say, the number one ask is that you join our email list at makingitinasheville.com or visit makingitinasheville.com/subscribe, and we have a very easy way for you to connect with us on all of the different channels.
Definitely. And another reminder that if you want to learn more about anything we talked about in this episode, you want to learn more about Nick himself or things that he mentioned, we have all of that listed on our show notes page at makingitinasheville.com/050. You can find everything there that was mentioned in the episode, as well as links out to other helpful resources.
And now our second spot for this season's sponsor, Range Urgent Care, found on Merriman Avenue in Asheville. So we had a lot of ideas as to what a sponsor might look like for the podcast. We could do things with affiliate links. We could do things with Squarespace, right? But it didn't seem to resonate. What we wanted in a dream state would be a local business that's doing something remarkable that any listener, no matter who they are, could benefit from. And I think that Range is an incredible fit. Knowing the climate that we're in right now with the coronavirus here, knowing that you can do things like get a virtual visit, that you can prepay for them, that they can cost as little as $30 a month, is something that I support. I support the business strategy. Matt, who I've talked to now a number of times to kind of get this thing done, is the best. And so, I am just so excited about this. I am a full kind of year subscription user. Sarah is going to, she is a little less risky, and so she's going to go one trip at a time with Range, but I'm so excited, and I hope that you, listener, either A, visit makingitinasheville.com/range to get some more information about them, or B, when and if the situation arises where you need some urgent care, you go to Range and you let them know that we sent you.
Yeah, please do. Again, sponsorship helps keep this podcast alive and helps keep it free for all of you. So thank you for listening, and thank you to Range for supporting this podcast. Next up, we want to take a reminder just we just want to remind you that Making It in Asheville has a lot of events, and we don't have anything on the calendar right at this moment, but we are planning to do another Monday Maker Mixer, which is our social networking event at the end of April. It will be online again. Mm-hmm. We did this in March, and it was fantastic. We had a small, intimate group of about 8 different people, and we hung out on Google Hangouts, and we shared some things that I think were really, really meaningful and helped make really strong connections. Yeah. So we're going to be doing something similar again at the end of April. We're going to change up the format a little bit. We might have some little individual breakout rooms where you can talk to people individually. So if you want to learn more about that event, please go to makingitinasheville.com/events, or just head to our page, click the events button. You'll see everything there. Our newsletter subscribers are the first to hear about these events, and so they're the first to get dibs on RSVPing. And we do have a limited amount of people that we allow in each event because we like to keep things intimate. So if you're not subscribed and you want to attend the next event, we highly recommend that you subscribe. Other events, we got some other things in the works. We're not going to tell you right now, but again, if you get on our newsletter list, you'll be the first to hear about it.
I will spoil a little bit because I'm very excited about it, Sarah, so please don't be upset. But we are working on some courses and some products that would seem to lend themselves more towards making it creative, which is just outside of the scope of work in Making It in Asheville. And those projects, those courses, those concepts, as they're in their very young infancy, are going to get worked out with the email list at Making It in Asheville. And so if there are things like digital marketing or online sales or email marketing to get sales, if concepts even remotely close to that are interesting to you, that would be another reason to join our Making It in Asheville email list. You're welcome to also just reach out to us directly and say, hey, I have this problem or this opportunity and this thing that I'm thinking about. Is there anything that's an overlap between what you guys like to do and what I'm in need of? We would love to talk to you about it. And that.
Okay, a couple more things. One is that Tony and I have a marketing business. It's called Making It Creative. We just want to remind you that if you need any, I don't know, just help, we're glad to have like a free consultation with you. Or if you want to learn more about what we do, please reach out. You can learn more about it at makingitcreative.com. And then the very last thing, I think, unless Tone has something else to add.
I honestly, I forgot to mention Making It Creative because we're in this now like real advertisements world. So if you didn't know that, thank you for reminding or letting our audience know, Sarah.
Yeah. And so the very last thing is that we are always looking for guest nominations to have on the podcast. So if you or you know a business that you think would be great to have on the podcast that we haven't interviewed yet, please let us know. We have a really nifty form on our website that you can fill out. It's at makingitinasheville.com/podcast, and you can nominate a guest there.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was 50 total episodes.
It sounds like doing 55. 50.
Oh, well, I'm not trying. 50
or 50.
Yeah, well, 50 because 50 sometimes sounds like 15, and that's not the case. That was 35 episodes ago. So we are at 50 episodes in, and it has been absolute blast.
Do you remember the 50 nifty?
For sure.
50 nifty episodes.
Oh my goodness. So
okay.
So thank you for making it this far into episode 50. We are honestly humbled and amazed and thankful that you listen and that this podcast is growing and that Range is taking a chance to be a sponsor with us and that you have given us your attention, and it's all feels like a privilege. You get to meet people like Nick and learn the work that they're doing. Matt at Range. It's a privilege. We're thankful, and we look forward to the next 50. All right.
See you next week.
High five. All right, Sarah, we did it. 50th episode.